people are learning or relearning or finally operationalizing this in their 40s and 50s.
Think about learning those skills at 15. Educate women and you change the world, right? But empower girls, the sky's the limit, right? It just gives them
Yeah.
more time in their power.
You're listening to Solving for Joy. I'm your host, Dr. Chrissy Ott, a multi-boarded integrative physician and professional certified life and career coach. This podcast is about joy, what it means, how we find it, and the creative ways people are solving for it in their own lives. I'm so glad you're here. I am so excited to have you here for another conversation. Our arc today is about raising confident girls, and our guest today is Jamie Shannon, founder and CEO of Girl Reimagined. We are super excited to talk about recognizing the emotional patterns we inherit, model, and pass down, and bringing awareness to that and how it impacts our children's solving for joy. I know that as a parent, my joy is deeply impacted. I won't say dependent on because that would be enmeshment, but I would say deeply impacted by how my kiddo is doing. And Jamie Shannon has decades of experience coaching girls in cheer and also in life and giving them tools to find themselves more grounded with more certainty about their own self-concept and their ability to take on the challenges of the world. So, Jamie, welcome to Solving for Joy. Please share with our listeners a little bit about how you ended up here and your solving for joy along the way.
Thank you, Chrissy. How I ended up here. I have been working with teenage girls for over 25 years now. And that's been just kind of this natural evolution that we can talk about if you like. But what feels even more important for me to talk about for a minute, when you mentioned your joy being connected to how your child is doing, I just had this hit and realization that my joy is deeply connected to feeling joy with my kids. Like,
Mm.
I feel better, and I can think of a specific example that I hadn't thought about today. But when I'm connected to my kids through joy, like that is with my world
Yes.
at its best.
Yes. Oh my gosh. Thank you for naming that. I recognize that as true
Yeah.
as well. Joy together is one of life's nectars for sure.
When I'm off kilter, it's always because I'm removed from joy. And so my whole process is just this puzzle of how to get back to that. And I think that's true for people in general. That's why we
Mhm.
set goals. That's why we think we need the things that we buy. We're
Yeah.
always working to get back to joy. And like the simplest times are when I feel most connected. And the situation I thought about, I went and played basketball with my kids, played. And I'm not a super playful person by nature, but in the act of playing with my children and the laughter and that like nothing else mattered, right? There was no stress, there were no bills, there was no problem to solve for. It was just joy and presence. And so anyway, it's such an important topic.
Mhm. Yes, I love that. How did you end up coaching cheer? I mean, I know you were a high school teacher for some years. So tell us a little bit about the stepping stones that ended up creating Girl Reimagined.
I started working with girls in 1999, and it was kind of odd how that came around. I was asked by a local high school to coach their cheer team, but I was just coming out of a really hard several years, I would say 3 or 4 years, and I didn't feel like I'd be a very good role model. So I
Mm,
said no. And I think I said no 3 times before I couldn't come up with a reason to say no anymore. So I said yes.
mm.
And that job changed my life. It
Oh,
made every hard thing that I had ever been through as a teenage girl, which I could list them out and you can probably relate to some. It was a very challenging time, but it all made sense because I had this beautiful group of teenage girls who were going through very similar things. So instead of just teaching them cheer moves, that was probably the least interesting thing I did. I was able to help them and like hold their hand through times that were really challenging and make it better for them. So it was healing for me. It was good for
mm.
them. And it shifted how I looked at my life. I thought I was going to climb the corporate ladder and do all the things. But I quit my job and I went back to school and I became a teacher because I thought, well, if I could make such a difference in the lives of 14, imagine the lives of thousands. And then that was great. There were 9 years of really, really quality times as a school teacher. But my favorite moments were before school. at lunch, after school, when the girls and boys like filled my classroom wanting to talk about life, right?
Mhm.
That jazzed me up way more than even though the classes I taught were fun too,
Yeah.
but that was the time.
Way more juicy than lesson plans. I
Yeah.
love the that you shared that you said no 3 times
Yeah.
before you said yes, and the universe just kept tapping, and they were like, "This is for you, Jamie. You
Yeah.
don't recognize it yet, but this is for you." And a theme that I heard there that really resonates with me and, some of my underlying foundational beliefs in coaching and teaching are that when we are able to take our suffering and use what we learned for the benefit of others, that is a completion step. I say, may no suffering go untransformed.
I think that's everything. I have a really unusual blessing in my life is that I've never really had to question what I'm here to do. That pain for purpose thing has always been the thing that since I was 19 years old, that's been everything.
Yeah.
So it's my North Star.
I love a clear North Star. It really is just like meaning and deep meaning, which for me is such a crucial component of the concept of joy that we have our meaning, our purpose is clear, even if it shifts over time, and that we are deeply aligned with our values, which means we think about them sometimes
Yeah.
and that we absolutely engage in delight.
How lucky.
How lucky to be a human and get to do those things in those ways. So you were transforming your pain into purpose and service. You've got this vocational calling that I just feel emanating from your body and soul. And the next step was to serve girls in this way as a coach for teens.
Yeah, it was to take the conversations out of the classroom and build my own classroom of sorts because
Yeah.
the rules and regulations got in the way, right? I just wanted to teach what I wanted to teach. And so, voila, in 2011, I started my coaching practice and I worked locally with girls in my small town. And then in 2018, I was even more clear on who I was meant to help. So we went nationwide, and that allowed me to hone in and serve the girls that were 100% meant to be working with me. So it's been a fun journey in how Girl Reimagined evolved.
What I love about coaching in terms of like comparison to therapy is one, we're not pathologizing, we're just like equipping
Yeah,
with tools for the journey, whether it's developmental tools because you're a developing young person or developmental tools because you are a developing adult person. But there's so much that we're not explicitly taught about navigating anxiety, perfectionism, self doubt, social pressures, and of course, social media, as you were talking with me, before we hit record, that equipping girls to prepare for the world that is right now includes being savvy and purposeful and clear about the role of social media.
100%.
Tell me where you are with that and your teaching and program.
I get to talk to probably 40 moms a month in depth, the deep conversations. And on almost every single conversation, the topic of social media comes up. I know we're past COVID, but I feel like a lot of it stems back to that time where parents let go of the reins a little bit on social media because their kids were so isolated,
Yeah.
right? So they didn't
Yeah.
want just another way for their child to feel even more alone. So they loosened the rein on social media and then poof, here we are.
Yeah.
And we have girls who are overly reliant on social media, and social media is not the problem itself. It's what it's replaced. And
Mhm.
that's something I'm super passionate about talking about. But moms just aren't sure what the proper step is. And taking it away is not really an option anymore. So my view on it is to help girls grow self-aware, to know what it's costing them when they're scrolling and spending countless hours online, and what to
Mhm.
do instead. And when you educate and equip, like you said, Chrissy, it's no longer punishment or like moms against phones,
Yeah.
right? It's a
Yeah. Yeah.
collaboration. And that's one of my core values as a coach, right? We
I'm laughing because it's a core value as a coach, but I'm telling you as a parent that I slip all the
yeah,
time. My kid, Issa, she's 12 and a half right now as we're recording. Like she knows, she reads me. We talk about, that my emotional state influences how I communicate and the tone of my voice and vice versa. And I'll be suddenly triggered. Like it'll just be like, suddenly she's been on the phone too long. Right. Like I suddenly, my body just is like, nope, that's too much. And I'll go and want to interrupt just randomly, like random interruption. And she knows all the things because we talk about social media. And of course, on the receiving end of somebody else's body feeling like, oh, that's enough. I'm going to come take away this tool that you're using to, apply dopamine to your neurons feels pretty bad. And she's like, well, why are you getting mad? And I'm like, I'm not mad. I'm sorry. I'm pretty sure that wasn't how I exactly wanted to handle it.
It's like this little so I have 3 kids. I have a 17-year-old, a 15-year-old, and a 12-and-a-half-year-old girl. But it's like something snaps within us, and we're like, "We need to take it away," right? It's too much. We've
Exactly.
gone too far.
Exactly. That's
But
right. That's
that
it.
doesn't always work out, like you're saying. So I
Yeah.
think the thing for me about social media and girls is that if you want a teenage girl to listen to you and really hear what you have to say, then you can't look at the phone or social media as the enemy, right? If I come at it as this is bad, they're going to shut me out. But I
Mhm.
found that when I can get curious or even share my own screen time stats and say, oops, like this happened, then we can
Mhm.
have a real conversation about it. And
Mhm.
what I hope girls realize through their work with Girl Reimagined is that there's so much more to life than what's happening on my phone. So we have a bunch of cool tools that help girls have that aha moment. But when they see, like on average, I would say of the 45 families that we have in our care right now, most girls spend 6 to 7 hours a day on their phone. And when
Wow.
we plop that number into a screen time calculator, I have it. If you want the link, let me know. But when
I
we
do.
plop that number into a screen time calculator, on average, it means that girls are going to give 60 to 90 days of 2026 just away to their phone. And
Wow.
honestly, it's more. I had a girl who we were doing our little screen time calculator together, and she spent 19 hours this last Sunday on her phone. At that rate, she will have stared at her phone more than she had done anything else in her life. And when we think about solving for joy,
Ugh.
what girls are doing is finding they're like self-regulating through their phone, right? It's filling
Mhm.
the gaps, it's avoidance, it's distraction.
Mhm.
And they're no longer doing the things that I know bring me joy. Like if I'm
Mhm.
feeling off, I can go outside and 5
Mhm.
minutes later I'm feeling better. But instead, when girls are feeling off, they grab their phone. And
Yeah.
so they're already in a low state. They're struggling with comparison, with insecurities and self-doubt, and then they go
Yeah.
find proof of why they're not enough. Like, that is
Right.
just a recipe that takes them on a ride that
Yep.
I want them to know how to stop that ride. So, we talk so much about what it means to get off the phone and, like, get back into our day-to-day lives in a meaningful way.
I'm so glad that that is coming to them, and especially that it's coming to them in a forum that's not a parent or a teacher or another authority person in their lives, but, somebody who's really set up to be a support to them in their lives.
I also have a younger person in the room, tell them a lot of the things that I want them to hear about the costs of, 17 Snapchat streaks and things like that. So she's 21 now, and she's been in our program and with our program since she was 17. So girls hear it from a mentor too.
Oh,
So it's not
nice.
just an adult saying, "Hey, this is bad," or "You shouldn't be on this," or "Don't do this." It's a girl saying, "Hey, look what this costs me." Like, be curious
Yeah.
about what else is available to you. And so it lands a lot differently.
I have a curiosity about, what sort of branch points actually get avoided when girls are taught these skills and have access and like even awareness that a support like coaching exists in their teenage years to say, oh, if things aren't going well, I've got this other lane of resources. Like, what kind of risks do they then not take? How much safer do they actually stay? I know those are not actually like measurable statistics, but I can't imagine how different my own choices would have been as a teenager, especially a late teen leaving home at 17, 18 years old, if I had had sort of a third rail grounding system.
Totally. We do have some data points that are really interesting, but the whole reason Girl Reimagine exists is it's the structure I wish I would have had, especially in my late teen years. And I know for a fact that I can't avoid all pain and heartache for teenagers, nor would I really even want to. Because again, when I look back to my teen years, pain for purpose, right? There is always something beautiful that comes from the hardest things that we've been through. But I do believe that I can save girls decades of struggle by giving them the skills and the tools that they need upfront rather than having them figure them all out themselves. So it's not
Yeah.
completely safeguarding your daughter, but it's helping her feel equipped so
Yeah.
she can stand on her own 2 feet and say, no matter what life throws at me, I've got this. Like that is the gift of coaching, in my
It
opinion.
is. It's building the inner structures and the inner confidence, not bravado, not yeah, child proofing them. That's not
Yeah,
the right word, but yeah, life proofing them. I don't regret those things I did because I ended up okay in the end. And I learned a lot along the way. But as a parent, I sure would not like my child to move out on her 18th birthday in order to get away from what felt like an unhealthy, relational field at home.
absolutely. And I think some of those skills can be learned when they go off to college or whatever path they choose without the low lows, right? So giving them
Yeah.
decision making skills and belief in who they are as a person and tools to handle
Yes.
stress and anxiety or to get back to joy when they've had a hard patch. Like all of those
Yes.
things are teachable.
And boundaries and communication. And you know what? The people I teach are learning or relearning or finally operationalizing this in their 40s and 50s.
Think about learning those skills at 15.
Yeah.
And just, I mean, educate women and you change the world, right? But empower girls, the sky's the limit, right? It just gives them
Yeah.
more time in their power. I know we all figure it out eventually, but I surely want my daughter to have a cheat code if one exists.
Absolutely. Jamie, will you share, because I'm sure that many people are curious about, the structure and the core pillars of Girl Reimagine? Like, what is it like for a girl in a family when they enter the program?
So I ran a 12-week, fairly comprehensive program, and an important component of that is parent education. I think one of the ways our traditional mental health techniques, approaches, fails families is leaving parents in the dark. And there are a
Mm,
lot of reasons for that.
so many people would agree with that.
I believe in parent education, and I teach the families that I work with the tools that I'm teaching their daughter so that they can support it when coaching is done. Coaching is meant to be just a little blip, not something girls rely on, right? So we educate parents. I teach tools and strategies to parents, and then we look at it as coaching for girls. One of the most magical things that I do is bring girls together on Tuesday nights. And no matter where they live in the country, they have the opportunity to come be with other girls who are experiencing similar things, going through things that they can relate to. They can share their thoughts and opinions and be heard and valued. It's such a beautiful community. And in that room, I teach girls the skills that I wish every teenage girl had. So it goes so beyond feeling anxious or feeling sad or stressed or overwhelmed. It's about giving them the skills that they need so that they can go into the classroom of life and have a joyous experience. So every week, like last week, for example, we talked about something I call my happy prescription. And we're literally breaking down girls' happiest moments in their lives and helping them find the clues as to what made that moment magical for them. And then once
Oh,
we have this list of clues, we can narrow it down even further to the ones that appear in many of their happiest situations. Before you know it, we have this clean, neat list of the 5 things that bring them joy, right?
mm,
And then we challenge them to go out and create their realistic best day ever. So they're applying the things that make them feel great. And they're going out and they're doing this with their family or with their loved ones or their friends. So for me, that happy prescription looks like nature, spirituality. It looks like belonging, music, connection. And girls knowing their own personal prescription for happiness, I think is one of the greatest gifts I can give them because then no matter what happens in life, if they've been thrown a few curveballs, they have the ability to go back to their happy prescription and reset themselves, right? Instead of disappearing into their phone for hours and hours, they can say, I need to go out and I need to be by the water. I need to
mm,
listen to music. I need to have a long talk with my best friend. I need to reconnect or I need some adventure. Whatever it is for them, they know exactly what they can do to feel better. And when girls know how to help themselves feel better, there's less numbing, right? And
yeah.
we can think of all the ways adults numb when they're not feeling joy.
So after 12 weeks, did the girls still come to the Tuesday night or they're in it for 12 weeks and then they are released from the nest?
So in 12 weeks, they have the experience of having the community. They have a personal coach that they walk with and get to share things that maybe they're not ready to share in the group.
Mhm.
And they have a curriculum that I've built that honestly, I cannot wait until I can give to every teenage girl as like a coming of age gift. But for now, that they do this intensive work for 12 weeks and it's fun and it's engaging. And after the 12 weeks are up, this is where we could get into the data if you want. But the girls are feeling completely different and they're able to set a new set of goals and dreams for themselves that they couldn't even have fathomed 12 weeks prior. So
Mhm.
then we can offer a lighter level of support, or we have a monthly community call. Because what I found is it's that loneliness piece that hurts
Mhm.
girls the most. And so being in a room where you are known and seen and valued is not an experience that many people get nowadays. So once a month, we meet as a group and they can be filled with that. Right. And reminded of who they are and reminded of their tools. And it's a really beautiful way to stay plugged in and still live their lives.
So amazing. How does this season of life help you solve for joy? How is Girl Reimagined supporting your personal joy?
Oh, that is such a great question. Right? When I hear that, my mind went to like the entrepreneurial journey. Being an
Yes.
entrepreneur and doing the work that I know I'm here on the planet to do has been the biggest mirror of my life.
Woohoo!
I
Yes.
I cannot like if I would have known, I would have said no to that too, right? Because every single challenge or hardship that I've experienced as I run this company has just exposed growth angle.
Yeah, sensitivities, vulnerabilities, hopes, fears,
Yeah, all of it.
identity projects.
And it doesn't stop because right when you have everything figured out, something else comes, right? But
Mhm,
I
mhm,
wouldn't change it. I think the most growth that I've ever had in my life has been since I opened the doors, figuratively speaking, to our virtual program,
mhm,
Girl
mhm,
Reimagined. So
mhm.
since 2018, I've grown more as a human, as a mom, as a wife, than I ever thought possible. I thought I was grown. Right?
Yes.
But I don't know, there's something in my adventurous spirit that has to be an entrepreneur. There's no other way. And hopefully until I retire, I'll keep coming back to learn more about myself through it.
Sometimes when your work is a calling, retirement doesn't really sound very juicy.
To me, it's been
Like,
more like evolvement. What's it going to look
yeah,
like when I'm
yes.
turning 49 next week?
Mhm,
And it's been a great run, but I get to look at what my next decade looks like. What would I change?
mhm.
What would I keep
Yes.
the same? I know the thing I would keep the same is every single day I would wake up and have my work be supporting girls. What would I change? I would find a way to experience a little bit less stress in it and a less suffering in it. And that's that entrepreneurial piece, right?
Yeah.
I just do my best to set up my day from morning to evening to remind myself of who I am and why I do the work and to bring moments of joy, whether that's like cuddling with my puppies or my morning journaling or just being outside. Maybe I wouldn't change a thing now that I say all this out loud.
What a gift. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like you have created so much meaning, so much alignment, and a lot of delight in there too. We haven't centered the joy of teen girls on the podcast before, and it just feels so good and so right to be doing that with you now. When your work came across my screen in whatever way it did, I felt that quickening and resonance and just appreciation. I knew immediately, like, I need to know more about this and about Jamie. So I'm so glad that you responded when I reached out. What are you hoping that a mom or a teen girl who might hear today's podcast will take away? And what might their first step be if they needed to access this kind of support?
I think I would want all teenage girls to know that they are wise. And I would want them to know that it can be better and that there's a ton of hope and that if they felt lonely, they're not alone. Those are the things I would want a teenage girl to know. And for her mom, I would want to remind her that an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure, right? And if you can equip your daughter, you should absolutely, because our world is different than it was when you and I were teenagers, and it will
Yeah.
be different again in 3 years, right? It's ever changing, and it's such a gift to be able to learn and grow alongside your daughter. I would just invite them to look at coaching sooner rather than later. I think coaching is at its most powerful before crisis.
It's powerful. I love that reflection that even though you're young, you're wise, and that even if you feel lonely, you're not alone.
It's the truth.
Any last offerings for our beautiful listeners who have spent time hearing us talk about girls and joy and groundedness? What feels most important for them to remember as they are thinking of the girls in their lives?
I think the most important thing right now, even if your daughter is doing great in all areas, grades are good, friends are good, life is good, it's to pay close attention to this social media piece
Mhm.
because often underneath the surface, girls are grappling with things that mom and dad don't understand. I
Yeah.
have a 30-day program focused on just helping girls handle social media and to feel equipped and to want to make different choices with their time so that at the end of 2026, they can look at their life and know that they spent it as present and as joyful as possible. And I
Yes.
just invite all parents to use a tool that I've created to see how much of their daughter's life in 2026 will be given to social media and just to show their daughter that number. Because
Yeah.
again, girls are wise. When they see that number, they want more for themselves too. So then it takes the battle out of get off your phone, put that away, put that down, be
Uh-huh.
present.
And I love that it will allow them to be more intentional with how they spend their time,
Yeah,
because that is an alignment that we need reminding over and over and over again.
yeah, I agree.
Many things are there to hijack our time, energy, and attention. So I love it. We will definitely share a link to the digital detox in the
Right.
show notes. And for people to follow you, where is the best place for people to stay informed about what you're sharing?
The place I have the most fun talking to moms is on Instagram, so join me there.
Yeah,
It's fun. It's at Girl Reimagined.
wonderful. Thank you so much for blessing us with your presence and for doing the work that is yours to do in this world. It is such a privilege to get to know you. And friends, I'm so grateful that you spent time with us today. If this conversation has resonated with you, you can learn more about Jamie's work and Girl Reimagined in the show notes, including social media detox resources. And if you're craving more conversations like this, conversations about connection, meaning, emotional well being, and reclaiming joy, I'd love to invite you to follow the show, to leave a review. And if you're a physician coach, join us at the 2026 Physician Coaching Summit. This year's theme is relating, and we'll be gathering November 4th through 7th at Skamania Lodge in the Columbia River Gorge, just outside of Portland. You can learn more about it at thephysiciancoachingsummit.com. Thank you again, friends. Keep taking care of yourselves exquisitely and keep solving for joy.